Okay. So are there any positives from the stimulus package that you think it's a real good highlight of what the government is trying to achieve?
I think the moratorium on PTPTN is a really, really good step lah. Because for most students who have maybe lost their jobs, and people who have just gone into the workforce but are not forced to pay. I mean, they have to clear out their PTPN loans. This is good news for them. At least that takes off some pressure on how much they. Yeah, that takes off some pressure off them lah. That's what I'm trying to say. Arveent, you can go next.
I think there are three things that are very positive lah. I would say there's a moratorium on all loans and hire purchase. That one will take away a lot of pressure from these groups because housing itself is a huge expenditure on their part. Another thing is, of course, as Michelle said, PTPTN. Agreed. Students need this time period to survive, essentially. But the third thing, I think the 50 billion ringgit loan that is backed by the government, 80% for SMEs. I think that is a very positive input lah, basically, because government-backed loans are usually much safer than other loans given by private entities. And I think SMEs that employ about 90%, correct me if I'm wrong, 90% of Malaysian people do deserve that kind of safety net. I mean, obviously today I read that the SME are saying that this is not enough. Perhaps it's not. I'm not in an SME to know. But to me, this is quite a positive step forward. Maybe there'll be more in the future.
Okay. So I think there was an issue that was raised by Anwar Ibrahim, right, about interest rates and all that of these payments and so on. Have you looked into that?
No, honestly, I've not seen the.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, but I wanted to say something. I mean, what do you think? I want to also pose a question to you, both of you. Like, what do you think about? Do you think that this stimulus is limited by the MCO period right now? Because the package is supposed to stimulate the economy, but given that the MCO period is still in effect, it may not be as effective as we expect it to be, because we can't really say that people will be spending more in this time, right? Yeah. So do you think that the stimulus package is limited by this?
By what again? Sorry.
MCO lah, because how can businesses? Not every business can operate right now because of the MCO period. So even if you pump in money, it may not actually achieve the purpose that the government is trying to achieve lah, which is to stimulate the economy. I mean, you do that assuming that you want people to spend more. Anyway, giving out these handouts like 600, 500.
I mean, not necessary for them to spend more for them to be able to sustain their living, I think, for the period of time.
So it's more of a sustenance.
But then also doesn't make sense, because by right, I think the employer is not supposed to dismiss the employee this period of time. So I think the thing they should have focused on would be the after effects of the MCO. Meaning once the MCO is done, and let's say we have a flattening of the curve and whatnot, then when employees start to, they will probably pay their employees for this period of time. But what might happen is that they start to find that they are not making as much profits as they used to. They might not be able to sustain their business, and they may need to lay off certain employees. So that's why I think that was a concern that was raised about job security, which I don't think this package necessarily addresses lah.
I think
because let's say if I give you like 500 month or something like that, I mean, maybe it helped me for April, May, but what's going to happen to me if, let's say, from June to December I don't have a job,
Yeah.
So my 500 is not going to really help me like, in that sense. Sure, maybe I can, because people tend to focus on small term kind of enjoyment, so maybe they get the 500, they'll spend quickly on like groceries or a bunch of stuff. So they may not save it for like the long run, which is something I think people should be doing lah, given that the current economy.
Okay. Yeah. So I think this stimulus package, there's two expected outcomes. One is it sustains people's lives. People have more money to save. But the other thing is it also makes sure that there is still money circulating in the economy, because circulation of money is very important. Without that, the
Yeah.
economy will not survive. And I think a few things that have been taken into consideration is, one, the people's welfare through direct cash injections, but the other thing is also through these loans that I said for SMEs. Because you might think that, okay, these SMEs cannot do certain things, but actually what they're lacking is infrastructure, or some other thing that money can solve. So they can take this loan, fulfill that gap, and then they can go on to still have businesses running. Because without employees, there's no business, and for employees to function, you need infrastructure. So all of these things is connected, basically. And I think again, this is not a sustainable model at the moment, with one-off cash payments. But I think it will be good for the short term, for the next maybe for the next month. But after that, we will see more incentives coming in. You need time to study these things. How the COVID is going to affect.
So
I think
there'll
that
be, yeah.
Mhm.
So you're saying there'll be more like coming in, so it's hard
There'll
to
be more.
tell for now.
There's
Yeah.
definitely more. I think there's a question that's quite relevant from the live stream. The MOH is claiming there'll be tsunami of cases on the third wave of COVID-19. What are your thoughts?
I don't think. I don't know. I don't want to be like, someone look at this and then say that didn't age well. But I don't know. It's hard to tell, because one moment we have like 100 something cases, 103. Then next day we have about 212
Yeah.
or something like that. And then again, like I say, it has to be averaged out. But I think it's been pretty consistent so far. And I think if people just follow through with the MCO, I think because there's an initial spike, because people were
Yep.
they were trying to adjust to the MCO, meaning that they didn't really know how to go about yet with their daily operations and so on and so forth. So once that has been sorted out, then I think there should be a decline.
But I also think that the current spike that we see over the past few days are actually people who were linked to, I think, the AA. So it's actually, we are now seeing how do I say this? These patients are people who have contracted the virus before the MCO was in place. So hopefully, like in the next 2 weeks, we will see a decline because right now, with the restriction of movement, people wouldn't be coming into contact with one another that much, and hopefully, like, the spread will also be contained. I do think it's normal to see a spike right now, because it's these cases are people who contracted it before MCO came into effect.
And I think there's like this sort of barrier. I mean, I don't know whether it's intended or not, but which keeps the number of positive cases lower than what it actually is. It's because that in order for you to get testing in the government hospital, you need to know someone that has contracted COVID-19, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't know specifically who you contacted over the past few weeks or so, then you can't go for testing exactly. So you may need to visit a private hospital and whatnot. And I think I saw a Facebook post recently by someone that said that he personally went to the hospital the private hospital to get tested, and it turns out it was positive. So there could be a whole bunch of cases. Actually, our numbers might be like quite high. We just don't really know. So I think everybody's staying at home, and then I think you just like kind of sort it out, lah.
I mean, that's exactly the point, basically, because if for all we know, millions of people might be infected, but they're just not showing symptoms. That's why it's very important for you to stay at home. If anyone is listening to this, I just want you to know, stay goddamn at home. We will make more podcasts if you want, but like you might be treat it as if you've already been infected. That's the most important thing.
Okay, I got an interesting question. So you know how there are many initiatives that are going on, and then people are like, it's a good thing, like it's a very like a humanity kind of thing where people go and then they help each other, right? So they go out of their houses, they deliver food, they try to help as much as they can. But do you think that is also, in a way, maybe spreading the infection? Maybe they don't intend it, but it's in a way that's allowing the infection to spread amongst these communities which are vulnerable. So Yeah,
I definitely think that you are taking a risk when you get out of your home actually interact with people, there is a risk. But I think at this point of time, we do need people to do those things to help the community. And I think we need to be wise. I think the question is just a matter of like be wise in like choosing the kind of things that you do lah, or choosing the kind of risk that you are willing to undertake for the achievement of, say, greater good.
Because like a lot of people want to help, but like sometimes there may be a detrimental effect to their assistance. You know?
Definitely. So like I think like organizers have to be mindful of the amount of people that they send out there to do this work among the vulnerable groups, and also precaution in terms of like kind of.
So my question also is like, do we really know what it is required? Because like sometimes we just give food, a lot of food. You know, maybe that's not what the medical practitioners want in hospital. They really want your free food coming in or whatnot. Maybe they need more supplies and stuff like that. So do we really know what these communities want, or are we like imposing upon them what we think they should have during this period of time?
See, that's very interesting. I think that's a critique of how society is structured, basically. Because right now we are very segregated and only brought together through a central body like a government. When in actual fact, how we're supposed to be structured is through smaller communities, you know. In the Soviet Union, this is called Soviets, basically. You know, small groups of self-governing bodies that come together. But if this structure actually exists, it'll be more clear what the local community wants, and there'll be more clear communication now. Whether this will be set up or not is another thing. However, what I do see on Facebook, especially, there's this group called Caremongering. Where they do go out and try to understand what each community would want, and then deliver these things to them. Not sure how well it is going, but I think it's quite a good initiative that we need to continue after COVID as well.
True, because it's like the most dangerous thing may be not COVID-19 but poverty, you know, and stuff like that. Like COVID-19 may not be killing them, but the fact that we have this MCO that's affecting their livelihood, it's more dangerous than what COVID-19 may present to these communities, I think. But then I don't know, it's a bit of like a balancing kind of thing.
Yeah. But I think
but I don't know, it's hard. I mean, you have to have the MCO, right? You know, like
it is, exactly.
So
okay, I think moving on from that point, because I think we've covered it. I'd like to talk about the after COVID period. You know, so yes, COVID we have MCO, but what do you think the recovery of the economy would look like for Malaysia?
From my specialist economic knowledge, you know, I mean, I wouldn't dare say that I'm very like well versed in economic theory and all that as well, because I'm a lawyer. That's my background. But I think if the rest of the world can recover at the same time, if everybody suddenly tomorrow just like zero COVID-19 cases, then our economy will be fine. But the problem is that, like, let's say we recover, and I have a feeling US and UK may take some time, then what may happen is that our tourism industry may be affected, right? Because people don't want to travel. So if they're not traveling to these places in Malaysia where they are reliant upon the tourism sector, then it may affect the communities over there, you know. And then I feel there's a trickle down effect, you know, in terms of the economy. And now, like, I don't know. I think it's going to be tough times, Tough times.
Which is why I feel that there needs to be another stimulus package coming up to cushion that impact, especially for SMEs. You know, when they come back into operation, you can't expect an SME who have been closed for more than 2 weeks to operate as normal. There will be losses, and so I think that is where the government has to step in and cushion the impact, because if we help cushion this impact, I think employees will also be protected in a way. We should ensure that
it really depends, right? Yeah, like some businesses they have more probability of survival than other businesses, because maybe they're working from home, they have technology available. So this kind of SMEs, I think, can survive this MCO period because they are doing
So
work. But then there are SMEs where it's like relying on groundwork and stuff like that,
exactly.
where if you don't go out, then you can't get it done. So I don't know. What do you think, Arvin?
Okay, I have some thoughts on this lah.
Some thoughts lah.
Some thoughts. As I alluded to before, post COVID would be a very interesting period lah. And I think, funnily enough, Liberasi's analysis is very relevant. So our analysis is proactive reindustrialization, right? So we want to take the government's money and then create industries and create jobs. I think after the economic recessions that we are seeing now, there's only way to quickly and accurately increase jobs without lowering the wages or benefits that are given to the workers. The only way would be to increase government spending and increase government intervention in the market, and that's my opinion lah. But I think there are a few things that we can explore as well that are a little bit more radical before COVID, but now we can start. So things like wealth tax on the super rich. So for example, if everyone that has a net worth of over $1 billion, a flat 1% tax on everything over 1 billion, that can fund a lot of things already. Going into more of that, you can have things like modern monetary theory, where the government prints its own money surplus to increase the economic activity within the country. So the thing is, we have to really seriously increase economic activity after COVID. And there are a lot of examples of how that is done effectively, but I think one of the most effective ways is to look at Deng Xiaoping's China and how they did it. And it did involve using the market, but with government guidance and government backed loans, which will be interesting lah. Finally, will be proven correct after COVID. Guess there's a silver lining in all clouds, right?